Okay, good day everyone, and now let's proceed to our next discussion for this psychiatric nursing. And this time, we talk about the therapeutic communications. So we all know that therapeutic communication refers to the verbal and nonverbal techniques that the healthcare providers use to effectively interact with our patients. So its primary goal here is to build a trusting relationship, facilitate understanding, and promote the positive outcome to our patients' care. So first, we need to define communication. So communications, that is the exchange of informations, can be broken down into the verbal and nonverbal forms, each playing a crucial role in conveying messages. So we have here the verbal communications and nonverbal communications. So verbal communications involves spoken or written words. So it has two components. We have the content and context. In the content, the literal words that are spoken or written. So this is direct message being annoyed or being conveyed rather. So in context, that is the environment, circumstances, or situations in which the communications takes place, shaping the interpretations of the messages. And context includes the physical settings, the relationship between communications, and cultural backgrounds. Now, let's proceed to the nonverbal communication. So, these include body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, gestures, and other forms of expressions that accompany verbal messages. So, in nonverbal communications, provides context to the spoken words. Okay, and then we have here the process and congruent or incongruent messages. So, in a process that is refers to all cues, behavior, and messages such as posture, facial expressions, eye contact, and tone that contribute to giving meaning to the verbal message. So it often reveals more about emotions and attitudes. How about congruent versus incongruent message? In congruent message, when verbal and nonverbal message aligns, reinforcing the meaning. So, for example, say I'm happy while smiling. So that is congruent. While incongruent, when verbal and nonverbal message contradict each other, leading to confusion. For example, say you're saying I'm fine with a sad expression. So effective communications involves ensuring the both verbal and nonverbal message are congruent to avoid misunderstanding and ensure the clarity. And now, let's proceed to the first therapeutic communications, which is the interpersonal interactions. So, interpersonal interactions in healthcare, particularly between the nurses and the clients, focus on addressing the client's needs. So, these interactions are critical for building the trust, fostering the collaborations, and ensuring that care is both effective and personalized. So there are components of this. First one, we have the client-centered focus. So the primary focus is on the client's need, ensuring that their physical, emotional, and psychological well-being is being address. And communication should prioritize understanding the client's concern, preferences, and health goals, fostering a supportive and empathetic environment. And next one, we have need for privacy. So maintaining confidentiality and creating a private space for discussions help clients feel safe and respected. And ensuring privacy allows client to share sensitive or personal informations without fear or judgment or exposure. That is promoting the honest communications. Next, we have the goal-oriented communications. Interaction should be goal-directed, aiming to facilitate the nursing process, which includes the assessment, diagnosis, planning, implementations, and evaluation. So each interaction should help move the clients toward their healthcare goals, whether through gathering information, providing educations, or offering emotional support. and we have the nursing standard and client care. So effective interpersonal communication is essential to meet the standard of the client care set out by our professional organizations and healthcare institutions. So by using clear, respectful, and therapeutic communications, nurses can ensure the delivery of safe, high quality care that meets both the clients and the healthcare system standards. So, this element together create a therapeutic relationship that empowers our client, ensuring their needs are met and aligns with professional nursing standard for care for the quality of care and safety. Next one, the goal of the therapeutic communications are very essentials in establishing an effective and supportive nurse-client relationship. So this goal facilitate understanding, promote client well-being, and ensure that the client's needs are met through the meaningful interactions. So here are the goal. Number one is establishing a therapeutic nurse-client relationship, or yung ating pinag-usapan last time, that is the nurse-patient relationship. So we need to build the trust, rapport, and the safe environment where our client feels comfortable expressing themselves. So this relationship is the foundation for providing the effective care. Number two is we need to identify the most important client concerns and assess the client perceptions. So understanding the client's key issues and how they perceive their condition or situations. So this help in prioritizing care and developing personalized interventions. Okay, the third one here is facilitate the client's expressions of emotions. So encourage the clients to express their feelings, anxiety, and fears openly. This helps addressing emotional and psychological needs and promotes emotional healing. Next, teach our clients and the family necessary self-care skills. So, empowering the clients and their family with knowledge and skills to manage their conditions of recovery independently. So, this enhancing their confidence and self-efficacy in healthcare management. Next one, we have recognize clients' needs. So we need to identify and validate the client's physical, emotional, psychological, and social needs to tailor care strategies that effectively meet their needs. And then we have the implement interventions to address the client's needs. So based on the client's identified needs, we must implement appropriate nursing interventions, ensuring that care is targeted, effective, and aligned with the client's priority. And lastly, we have here guide the clients toward acceptable solution. So, assist our clients in the problem solving, helping them explore and choose solutions that are realistic, acceptable, and aligned with their values and goals. So, this foster the autonomy and self-determinations. Okay? So, these goals ensure that therapeutic communications not only address the immediate concern, but also empowers clients and their families. So, this promotes holistic well-being and support of long-term positive outcomes. Okay, next one we have proxemics. Okay, so it refers to the study of the personal space and how the physical distance between the individuals affect the communications. So there are different distance zones are used in the various contexts, and the appropriate use of space is crucial in therapeutic communications to ensure the comfort and effectiveness in our nurse-client relationship. So, typically, distance zones in proximate intimate zone, which is 0 to 18 inches. So, typically, reserved for close personal relationships such as a family or close friends. So, in healthcare naman mga anak, nurse may enter this zone during the task like physical assessment or the procedure, but sensitivity is needed to avoid the discomfort. Next one, we have the personal zone, which is 18 to 36 inches. So this space is often used in conversations with friends or people we know well. So in therapeutic communication, the zone may be used during the discussions that involve personal or sensitive topics, allowing for comfort while maintaining some personal space. Okay? Next one, we have the social zone. In social zone, that is 4 to 12 feet. This distance is common in social interactions like business setting or casual conversations. So it can be in the healthcare setting naman when engaging in less intimate communication such as giving instructions in a group setting. And lastly, we have the public, which is 12 to 25 feet. Used for public speaking, lectures, or interaction where the personal engagement is not the focus. This is a rarely applicable in one-on-one therapeutic communication unless addressing in a large groups. So, therapeutic communications, ideal distance in therapeutic communications, the most comfortable distance between the nurse and the patient is typically 3 to 6 feet apart. So this range maintain a respectful distance, ensuring the patient's personal space, and this time allows for effective verbal and nonverbal communications without intruding on the patient's sense of privacy. So there is a balance, intimacy, and professionalism, making the patient feel safe and supported. So understanding the pros techniques and appropriate use of space help our nurses build rapport, reduce anxiety, and create a comfortable environment for meaningful and therapeutic interaction. Okay, next one we have the touch. So touch is a powerful form of nonverbal communications and can play a significant role in the therapeutic interactions between our nurses and the client. So however, it is appropriateness depends on the context, client's preferences, and the nature of the relationship. So there are 5 types of touch. Number one here, we have the functional or professional touch. So, used to perform a task or procedure. Example, taking a blood pressure, administering an injection. So, the primary clinical and impersonal, there is a necessary for providing care. Next, we have social polite touch. Okay, a polite gesture such as handshake or light pat on the back. So use here is the initial greeting or during the brief or formal interactions. Okay? Next, we have the friendship warm touch. So yung a touch that conveys care or warmth such as pat on the arm or shoulder. Okay, and then appropriate in situations where there is a rapport and a deeper level of comfort between the nurse and then the patients. Okay, next we have this love and intimacy touch. So expresses deep emotional connection, usually reserved for close personal relationships. So this is rarely appropriate in professional healthcare setting. And then we have the sexual arousal touch. So this associated with sexual contact and is never appropriate in a nurse client interrelationship. So touch in therapeutic communications here is when we use appropriate and welcome no, and welcome by the client's touch can provide the reassurance and emotional support and a sense of connections. So it can be a particularly helpful in conveying empathy or compassions in moment of distress. So touch can be perceived as an invasion of intimate and personal space, particularly if our client is uncomfortable with physical contact. So the same touch that feels supportive to a nurse may not be received positively by our client. So we always have the considerations. Number one consideration is the client's preferences. So always assess our client's comfort with touch. Cultural, personal, and psychological factors influence how touch is perceived. Number two, considerations, client's history. So clients with a history of trauma, abuse, or negative past experiences with touch may have the strong preferences about the physical contact. And lastly, consideration, we have the client's need. Okay, some of our clients may be benefit from touch for comfort while may others may not. So the nurse must use their judgment and knowledge of the client's background and preferences to decide when touch is appropriate. Okay? By carefully evaluating the use of touch based on the client's preferences, history, and needs, nurse can provide care that is respectful, supportive, and therapeutic. Okay, question. Is the following statement true or false? So a distance of 2 feet between the nurse and then the patient is adequate for promoting comfortable therapeutic communications. So what your answer? What is your wild guess? Okay, the answer is false. Why? For effective therapeutic communications, a distance of 3 to 6 feet between the nurse and the patient is most appropriate. Okay, next we have the therapeutic communications, which is active listening. So active listening and active observations are the key skills in the therapeutic communications that help our nurses understand both the verbal and nonverbal cues from their patients and allowing more comprehensive care. Active listening. So that is concentrating exclusively on what the patient is saying without distractions. So this active listening ensures that the nurse fully understand the patient's message, concerns, and feelings. So active listening involves more than just hearing words. So it includes interpreting tone, inflections, and emotional contents. So, ang kwan lang natin dito sa active listening, number one here is give full attention. So, avoiding distractions like phones or other tasks and maintaining eye contact and focusing solely on our patients. And importante rin po dito sa active listening natin, the providing feedback. So, reflecting or paraphrasing what the patient says to demonstrate understanding and encourage further sharing, and responding with appropriate emotional support, indicating that the nurse is not only listening but also emphasizing with the patient's situations. Okay? Next, we have the active observations. So, watching the patient's nonverbal actions such as body language, facial expressions, and gestures while they are communicate. So, nonverbal cues often provides deeper insight into the patient's feelings or concerns. So, even if our patient is not verbally expressing them, it's help in understanding the congruence between what the patient says and how they behave. So, ang isipin lang po natin dito sa active observations natin is noticing the body language. So, we need to observe the posture, gesture, physical reactions that may indicate the discomfort, anxiety, or openness. Also, paying attention to subtle changes in expressions that might reveal emotions like fear, confusions, or sadness. Or noting whether the patient maintains or avoid eye contact, which can indicate levels of trust, honesty, or discomfort. So, by combining the active listening and active observations, nurse can better understand the full scope of a patient's communications, leading to more accurate assessment, stronger therapeutic relationship, and more personalized care. So here also, we have to help our nurses recognize the most important issue, know the questions or know what questions to ask, use the therapeutic communication techniques, and prevent jumping to conclusion and objectively response to the message. In therapeutic communications, the need for concrete, not abstract message is critical for ensuring to clear understanding, particularly when working with patients who may be confused, anxious, or overwhelmed. So we have the concrete message. So that is use of clear, straightforward language, avoid vague or abstract terms to reduce misunderstanding and promote effective communications. So these are the techniques in therapeutic communications. Okay, we have the first one, we have the exploring. So encourage the patient to talk more deeply about a particular topics or concern. For example, tell me more about how you're feeling when you experience pain. Okay, so that is example of exploring. Next one, we have focusing. Help the patients concentrate on a specific issue or concern. So for example, let's go back. So what you mentioned earlier about your difficulty of sleeping. So that is example of focusing. Next, restating. So repeats or paraphrase what the patient has said to confirm understanding and encourage further discussion. For example, you so you're saying the headache had been happening every morning. So that is example of paraphrasing. Okay. Next one, reflecting. So directs the patient's statement or emotional back to them to encourage self-explorations and acknowledgments of feelings. For example, it sounds like you're feeling frustrated about not getting better as quickly as you'd hope. So that is reflecting. Okay, so we have the techniques for focusing or clarifying. So in clarifying, help ensure both parties understand the message by asking clarification. For example, when you say you're feeling off, what do you mean by that? Okay. And then, papasok na dyan yung summarizing. So that is restating the main points of the conversations to clarify the understanding. For example, to summarize, you're feeling nervous about the surgery and the unsure about the recovery process. Is that correct? Okay. And then, we also have the providing feedback. So making an observations. So in making observations, offering observations about the patient's behavior or emotions can help them gain insight into how they are feeling or acting. So for example, I notice you are clenching your fist when we talk about this. Are you feeling tense? Okay, so that is presenting the reality. Okay, so yung presenting the reality helps our patients distinguish the reality from their perceptions, especially in case of confusions and or distorted thinking. For example, I know you believe the staff is ignoring you, but I've seen them check on you frequently today. So these are the techniques enhance the therapeutic communications by promoting the deeper explorations of the patient's feelings and concern, ensuring the clarity and providing the feedback that encourage self-awareness and understanding. Okay. In therapeutic communication also, it is essential to avoid non-therapeutic techniques that can hinder effective interactions and negatively impact the patient's emotional well-being. So this technique can create the barrier to trust, discourage open communications, and lead to misunderstanding. Okay, meron tayong avoidance of non-therapeutic technique. For example, we have advising. So, offering solution or suggestions instead of allowing the patients to explore their own uh, solutions. So, why to avoid ang ating advising? So, it can undermine the patient's autonomy and discourage them from thinking critically about their own problems. Okay. Next, belittling. Okay, yung belittle. So, minimizing the patient's feeling or concern, making them feel unimportant. I-avoid natin ito because this can make the patients feel invalidated or misunderstood and reducing the trust in the nurse. Next, we have the challenging. So, yung challenging kasi that is directly questioning or confronting the patient's belief or perceptions in argumentative way. Bakit natin kailangan iwasan din ito? It can cause the patients to become defensive or feel attacked. Okay, proving you're asking for information in a way that feels invasive or overly persistent. So, iiwasan natin ito so that it can make the patient feel uncomfortable and reluctant to share more. Okay. Ano pa? Reassuring. Okay. Offering superficial reassurance with open without acknowledging the patient's true concern. So it may dismiss kasi or downplay the patient's feelings, making them feel invalidate. Okay. So yon yung ating iwasan. So these are the non-therapeutic techniques. And then we have the interpretations of signals or cues. We have the overt and then the covert. Sa overt, that is a clear and direct statement. So they are explicit and clearly stated message that reflects the patient's thoughts, feeling, or concern. So for example dito, I'm scared about the surgery. So anong response natin? It should be used reflective listening to explore this feeling in more depth. Yun po yun. So for example, sabi natin, it sounds like you're really worried about the outcome of the surgery. Okay, that is a reflective listening. And then we have the covert signal or the big or indirect message. So these are indirect or unclear message that suggest something is wrong, but the patients may not fully express it. For example niya, I just don't feel right anymore. So, anong gagamitin natin? In response, use a clarifying or exploring techniques to help the patients express their concern. For example, what do you mean by not feeling right? Can you tell me more? Okay. So, understanding the difference between the overt and covert signals and avoid non-therapeutic techniques ensures that communication remains patient-centered, empathetic, and conducive to healing. So this approach allows nurse to better support patients while encouraging open and honest dialogue. Okay, let's proceed to the facial expressions. And body language plays a critical role in the therapeutic communications, often conveying more than a words can express. So, understanding and interpreting these nonverbal cues is essential for building the trust, empathy, and understanding with patients. First one here, we have the facial expressions, which is the expressive. A face that clearly conveys emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, or surprise. So here, it helps the nurse understand how the patient is feeling emotionally and can prompt further explorations of those feelings. For example, here is a patient smiling warmly may indicate contentment or relief. Okay. Next, we have the impassive. So, a face that shows little to no emotions, often described as a blank or neutral. So, it can make it difficult to assess the patient emotional states and may requires the nurse to rely more on the verbal communications or other cues. For example, here a patient with an impassive expression during a serious conversations may be suppressing their feelings. Okay? Next, we have the confusing. A facial expressions that contradicts the verbal message being given. So it may indicate internal conflict, anxiety, or discomfort and often requires further clarifications. So for example here, a patient says they are fine but their facial expression shows worry or fear. Okay, let's proceed to the body language. First one, we have the closed body positions. A posture in which the person crosses their arms, legs, or turns away from the nurse. So open seen as a protective or defensive. So this can signal the discomfort, distrust, or unwillingness to engage, making it harder to establish rapport or elicit open communications. So example here, a patient sitting with their arms slightly crossed may feel anxious or resistance to sharing. Okay, we have the open posture. In the open posture, in which the person faces the other with uncrossed arms and legs, suggesting openness and receptivity. So an open posture signal willingness to communicate the trust and comfort, facilitating more effective interactions. So example here, a patient sitting with their hands in their lap and leaning slightly forward can indicate engagements and readiness to talk. So the importance of therapeutic communications is number one is the facial expressions and the body language provides valuable insight into the patient's emotional and psychological states. Nonverbal cues can sometimes reveal feelings or concern that the patients may not express verbally. So, helping nurses guide the conversations and provide appropriate support. So, by paying attention to both facial expression and body language, nurses can better interpret the patient's needs and emotions, fostering a more empathetic and effective therapeutic relationship. Next, we have vocal cues, eye contact, and silence are powerful nonverbal tools that can significantly influence the quality of interactions between the nurse and the patient. So, in these elements, there is a contributes to building rapport, understanding the patient's emotional states, and fostering an environment of trust. Vocal cues, the tone, pitch, or volume and speed of speech that accompany verbal communications. Vocal cues often provide insight into the emotional state of the speaker even more than the words themselves. So there are types of vocal cues. We have the tone. Pag sinabi nating tone, that is a calm, soft tone conveys empathy and reassurance, while a harsh or loud tone may suggest frustrations or urgency. For example, a patient is speaking in a low, shaky tone may be anxious or fearful. Another types of tones we have the pitch. High pitch may indicate nervousness or excitement, while a lower pitch often suggests a calmness or sadness. So example here, a sudden increase in pitch when discussing a health concern may suggest heightened worry. Next types, we have the volume. Speaking loudly might indicate anger or frustrations, while speaking softly may suggest shyness or uncertainty. So, examples here, a patient raising their voice during a discussion about the treatment might feel unheard or misunderstood. And another type, we have this speed. So rapid speed can indicate anxiety or excitement, while slow speech may suggest fatigue, sadness, or contemplation. So example, a patient who speak very quickly might be trying to avoid expressing deeper emotions or might feel rush. Okay. Next, we have the eye contact, the amount and quality of direct visual and contact during communications. So yung eye contact natin is crucial for building trust and connections. It helps convey attention, empathy, and sincerity. Okay, meron tayong types of eye contact. We have the direct eye contact, which is maintained eye contact shows interest and engagement in the conversation. For example, a patient maintaining eye contact while talking about their fears indicates that they feel comfortable and are seeking connections. Okay, meron din tayong tinatawag na limited or avoided eye contact. So, avoiding eye contact may suggest discomfort, shame, or desire to hide something. Example, a patient avoiding eye contact when discussing a sensitive issue maybe feel guilty or embarrassed. Okay, cultural consideration lang natin dito. Some cultures may view direct eye contact as a disrespectful or confrontational. So it is important to consider cultural norms when interpreting these cues. Okay? Next, we have the silence. This is the intentional or unintentional absence of verbal communications during interactions. So silence can be a powerful therapeutic tool, providing space for reflections, encouraging patients to share more, or conveying empathy and support. So how to use the silence? Number one, we have the encouraging reflections. Silence give the patients time to think and process their thoughts, often leading to more meaningful or in a depth responses. So example, after asking a sensitive question, allowing a moment of silence, give the patient space to gather their thoughts. Another, conveying support. Silence can be a way to offer presence and empathy without the need for words, especially in a moments of grief or distress. So example here, sitting quietly with a patient who has just received bad news can be more supportive than offering verbal reassurance. And we have the allowing emotional expressions. So, silence can invite the patients to express emotions or continue talking rather than filling the space with unnecessary conversations. So, example, a pause during a conversations may prompt the patients to share something they had not initially intended to discuss. So vocal cues, eye contact, and silence all contribute creating an environment where our patients feel heard, understood, and supported. So by being attitude to these nonverbal signals, nurse can better interpret the patient's emotional states and respond appropriately to their needs. So these tools are essential by fostering trust and facilitating deeper, more meaningful communications in therapeutic communications. Okay, questions. Is the following statement true or false? Nonverbal is open, less accurate than verbal communication. So what is your wild guess? The answer here is nonverbal communication, that is false. Is often more accurate than verbal communications when the two are incongruent. So people can readily change what they say but are less likely to be able to control nonverbal communications. Okay, understanding the meaning, context, and spirituality of communication is essential in therapeutic settings. So, as it shapes how messages are received, interpreted, and acted upon. So, here are the breakdowns of these components. Okay, punta tayo sa meaning. Meaning, that is the significance or interpretations of the message exchanged during the communication. So, there are verbal meaning. So, this is literal content of what is said, including the choice of words and paraphrase. While on the nonverbal meaning, the emotional undertones conveyed through the facial expressions, body language, tone, and vocal cues. So, effective communications goes beyond words. It requires understanding of the intended meaning behind the messages. Okay, there is a misinterpretations can lead to misunderstanding and affect the therapeutic relationship. Okay, next we have the context. Okay, the environment and circumstances in which communications occurs, including the situational, rational, and cultural factors. In situational context, the immediate physical and emotional settings, situational context, the healthcare environment, and the patient's current states. For example, there is a pain and anxiety. Okay, so that is situational context. Next, we have the relational context. So this is the relationship between the individuals involved, which affects the level of trust and openness. So, okay, we have the cultural context. Yung cultural context naman natin, that is a cultural background, influence communication styles, beliefs about the health and perceptions of authority. So context shape how messages are conveyed and understood. So a patient's cultural beliefs and prior experiences can significantly affect their willingness to communicate openly, their understanding of health informations, and their responses to treatment. Spirituality. So this is the personal search of meaning and purpose in life, which may or may not be associated with organized religion. So there are components. We have the personal belief, that is individual belief about the life, existence, and the cosmos, which can influence the health, behavior, and coping mechanism. So spirituality often involves a sense of connections to others, which can enhance emotional support and resilience during the health challenges. Next, we have the holistic health. So recognizing the spirituality can be a crucial aspect of a patient's overall well-being, impacting their mental and emotional health. So addressing the spirituality in communications can help our patient express their fears, hopes, and values, leading to more personalized and holistic care. So, understanding a patient's spiritual belief can inform treatment decisions and improve compliance by aligning interventions with their values. Okay, so integrating the meaning, context, and spirituality in communications. Number one here is the active listening. So engaging fully with patients to understand not just word but also their emotions and beliefs. Next, we have the cultural competence. Being aware of and sensitive to the cultural backgrounds of our patients, tailoring communications styles accordingly. And then we have the open-ended questions. So encouraging our patients to share their thoughts, feelings, and beliefs to gain deeper insight into their experiences and needs. And then we have the empathy and respect, valuing the patient's unique perspective, including their spiritual beliefs and how these relate to their health care. So, by understanding the meaning, context, and spirituality of communications, healthcare providers can foster more effective therapeutic relationship. So this approach enhances understanding, supports patients' autonomy, and promote holistic care that respect the individual's belief and experiences. So effective communications in healthcare is not only about conveying informations, but also about the connecting with patients on a multiple levels, which is the emotionally, culturally, and spiritually. Okay, so these are the cultural considerations. We need to have the cultural assessment, use of translator who can retain original intent without inserting the bias, and nurse must understand the differences in how various cultures communicates. And then questions. Which of the following is a non-therapeutic communication? So what's your answer? A. Reassuring. B. Reflecting. C. Focusing. Or D. Exploring. So what's the right answer or what's your wild guess? The correct answer is reassuring, because reassuring is non-therapeutic technique because it attempts to dispel the patient's feeling. So reflecting, focusing and exploring are the example of therapeutic communications technique. Okay, so what are the goals for our therapeutic communication? So here are some uh, written on the screen of your goals. In therapeutic communications, understanding the non-directive and directive role is crucial for tailoring interactions based on the patient's needs and circumstances. So there is an each approach it serves a specific purposes and it's effective its different context. We have the non-directive role. So that is approach encourage open dialogue, allowing patients to express their thoughts and feelings freely without leading or direct, uh, directing the conversation. So, ito una, we have the broad openings. So, create a space for the patient to introduce the topics and share what on their mind. So, for example, would you like to talk about today? And then we have the open-ended questions. So, that is encourage deeper exploration of feelings and thoughts by prompting expensive responses. For example, can you tell me more about what's being bothering you? Oh, so this approach foster a safe environment for our patients, promoting the self-expressions, autonomy, and a sense of control over their narrative. So it is a particularly effective in building the rapport and understanding the patient's perspective. Next, we have the directive role. In the directive role, that is approach involves the guiding conversations with specific questions or prompts, often used when they clarity or immediacy is needed. For example, direct yes or no question. So that is a quickly gathered information or specific informations, particularly when urgency is required. For example, assessing the risk. Are you feeling suicidal right now? Next, we have focus queries for crisis situations. So that is address the immediate concern, such as safety or reality testing, open for patients in crisis or those who may not disconnected from reality. For example, do you have plan to harm yourself? So this approach is essential in crisis situations where our quick assessments and interventions are necessary. So it helps in gaining crucial informations to ensure patient safety and provide immediate support. Next, choosing between non-directive and directive rules. Use a non-directive approach when the patient is stable and capable of engaging in deeper dialogue. Shift to a directive approach when the patient in crisis or require a clear guidance. Kapag goal of interaction naman, non-directive techniques are useful for exploring the emotions and building the trust, while directive techniques are effective for assessment and interventions. So, balancing the non-directive and directive communication techniques allow healthcare providers to adapt their approach based on the individual needs of our patients. So, by being flexible and responsive, nurse can effectively support patients through the various stages of their healthcare journey, fostering both trust and safety. Okay. Understanding how to effectively use open-ended versus yes or no questions, proper phrasing and active listening skills is essential in therapeutic communications. So each elements contribute to more meaningful interactions with our patients. In open-ended questions, questions that encourage expensive or expansive responses and allow our patients to express their thoughts, feelings, and express experiences in depth. For example, what has been on your mind lately? Can you describe how you felt during the experience? So in this one, promote the deeper explorations of feelings and issues, foster a sense of control and engagement in the conversations, and encourages patients to share more about their concern. So yan yung open-ended. Next one, we have the yes or no questions. So questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Example, are you feeling better today? Did you take your medicine? So this one, this is a useful for gathering specific informations quickly. Effective in crisis situations or when assessing the risk. Okay, punta naman tayo sa drawbacks. Okay, that can limit the depth of conversations and exploration of the issue kapag yes or no, and may discourage elaborations of or sharing of feelings. Next, punta tayo sa proper phrasing or of questions. So, considering the using the think versus feel. Encourage emotional expression by using feel to prompt the emotional responses. Example, how do you feel about your treatment plans? Use think when you want to understand the patient's belief or cognitive processes. Example, what do you think is the most challenging part of your recovery? Okay, so that one. And then, avoid leading questions. Ensure questions do not suggest a desired responses. For example, instead of asking, you feel anxious about the surgery, right? And then ask what you're feeling about the upcoming surgery. Okay. And then papasok na dito yung active skills. Active listening skills that is engaging fully with the patients to understand their message, both verbal and non-verbal. So, ang components lang natin dyan, na pag-usapan na natin kanina, the reflection, paraphrasing what the patient has said to confirm understanding. We have the clarification, so that is asking for further details or explanation to ensure comprehensions. So for example, can you explain what you mean by that? Okay. And then we have the building on response, asking follow-up open-ended questions based on the patient's responses to delve deeper. Okay, what are the techniques for the enhanced communications? We have the clarifications, because clarifications to ensure understanding and prevent miscommunications, and placing an event in time or sequence. So, help patients articulate their experiences chronologically, providing clarity. So, in conclusions, using a combination of open-ended questions, proper phrasing, and active listening skills foster an environment where our patients feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and emotions. So, by employing clarification techniques and helping patients sequence their experiences, our healthcare providers can enhance understanding, build trust, and support meaningful communications throughout the therapeutic process. Okay, so yan. Andyan na pa rin yung asking for clarification, addressing the client's avoidance of anxiety producing the topic, and these are the guiding the clients in providing solving change. For example, help the client explore possibilities. Client's participation is key, and avoiding inserting own beliefs. Okay? And then we have the assertive communication. So, expressing feelings and ideas effectively is a vital in a therapeutic communication. So, it promotes clarity and understanding. So, here are the breakdowns how to express both positive and negative feelings, focusing on the assertive communications. So there are types of responses and specific techniques. So we have the expressions of feelings. So this is open, honest, direct communication. So this is encourage clear expressions of feelings, both positive and negative, to foster trust and understanding. So we use calm, specific, and factual statement to convey message without ambiguity. Okay? Focus also in the I statement, because I statement helps communicate feelings without placing blaming or blame, reducing the defensiveness in the listener. So, for example, I feel overwhelmed. I have to wait for appointments instead of you always make me wait. Okay. So, there are types of responses. We have the aggressive. So, aggressive, that is a forceful, confrontational, and often disrespectful. Okay, so this approach can lead to conflict and resistance. Okay, we have the passive and aggressive. So that is indirect expression of hostility, often through sarcasms or procrastinations. So this can create confusions of uh, misunderstanding. We have the passive. Yung passive naman, that is avoiding expression of feelings, leading to resentment or frustration. So this approach often leads to unmet needs and unexpressed feeling. Okay, we have the assertive, that is respectful or clear communications of one's needs and feelings. So it promotes healthy boundaries and mutual respect. Okay, so these are the techniques of effective communication. We have the broken record technique. So this is repeating a key point or request calmly and assertively until it is acknowledged. Okay, we have rehearsing responses. So that is preparing a response to common situations or difficult conversations can increase confidence and clarity. Okay, and then role-playing or mentally rehearsing potentially interactions can help in feeling prepared and assertive. So, effective communications involves expressing feelings clearly and assertively while being aware of the potential responses from others. So, by focusing on I statement, utilizing the broken record technique, and rehearsing responses, individuals can enhance their communication skills, fostering their healthier interactions in therapeutic context. So, assertive communications lead to better understanding, conflict resolutions, and stronger relationship. Okay, there are community-based care that is flash on your screen. So nurse increasingly caring for high-risk clients in home. Families become more responsible for primary preventions. And therapeutic communication techniques and skills are essential for caring for our patients to the community and increase the self-awareness, knowledge needed about the cultural differences, sensitivity to beliefs, behavior, feelings of others. And it is important to have the collaborations with clients and family as well as other healthcare providers. Okay, questions. Is the following statement true or false? Assertive communications focuses on identifying negative feelings. What's your answer? Okay, the right answer here is false because assertive communications focuses on the expressions of positive and negative feelings or ideas in an open, honest, and direct manner. Okay, self-awareness issue lang tayo. Nonverbal communications plays a crucial role in conveying message and emotions, often complementing or even contradicting verbal communication. So here are the overview of its importance along with the step to improve our communication skills. Okay, it is importance of nonverbal communications, complementing verbal communications. So, nonverbal cues, that is facial expression, gestures, postures, can enhance or clarify the spoke message. So, we need to conveying emotion. So, nonverbal signals often express feelings that words may not capture. Okay? And then, we need also here building rapport. Okay, in the building rapport, there is effective use of eye contact, appropriate touch, and attentive body language can foster the trust and connections. Okay, indicating the engagement. So, active listening cues such as nodding and maintaining can open an open posture shows the speaker that you are invested in conversation. So, we need to have self-awareness is the first step to improvement. Reflect on how nonverbal cues align with your verbal message. So we need to practice mindfulness to be conscious of our body language and tones during the interactions. And also it is important mga anak to solicit input from our colleagues or mentors about our communication styles, and then request a specific example when your nonverbal communications was effective or could be improved. And then we need also to regularly assess our verbal and nonverbal communication skills. Okay, considering keeping a journal to track interactions, noting areas when you felt effective and those that are felt challenging. Okay, so we need to practice various scenarios to refine both nonverbal and nonverbal refine our both verbal and nonverbal communications, record conversations to review your body language and tone, identifying for areas for improvement, and watch skilled communications, noting their nonverbal cues and show their complement their message. So both verbal and nonverbal communications are integral to effective interactions. By increasing self-awareness, seeking feedback, and continuously examining your skill, you can enhance your overall communications effectiveness. So this is not only improves our relationship with our colleagues, but also strengthen connections with patients, fostering more supportive and therapeutic environment. So that is for our therapeutic communication. So thank you for listening.